just waiting on Facebook right now, and I never know when it's actually going to start. So we're just going to give it a minute. Okay. I think we're live. So today I'm Leslie Leondis with Next Packets Coaching, and I have a special guest with me today that I actually met at a networking event in Brenham, Texas, at A Million Cups. That was actually our first one in the community. And I heard Stephanie's story, and I felt like she needed to tell her story to just more than people in the room, because I know as a small business owner, we all get overwhelmed by all this stuff. And her story was so inspiring. I invited her to do this with me today. So, Stephanie, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Hi. Yeah, it was so great to meet you the other day. You guys and we presented at 1 million cups, and it was so good for my soul to have a bunch of entrepreneurs in the room who understood what I was going through. And then a lot of you, like you, Leslie, just reached your hand out and was like, hey, let's figure this out together. So it was amazing. Thanks for having me here. Uh,
Yes.
my name is Stephanie. I am the owner of Board and Brush Brenham here in Brenham, Texas. We are right outside of downtown. And we are known for hearts and hammers and wine. So I hope you don't mind.
No?
It's after 5 o'clock, and here at Board and Brush, we are BYOB. So I poured myself a glass of Chardonnay for our little chat. Um, so I also work full time. I'm a licensed farmers insurance agent. So I run my small business. I work full time, and then I'm also a wife and a mom.
So how old are your kids while you're at full-time job and running a business? So how old are
Full-time
your
job,
kids?
running a business, and I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Wow, that's a lot. Talk
Yes.
about hands full. So
I
one of
have a
the
great
questions,
village. I have a great
it takes a tribe.
village.
So before we get into the business, let's talk about you, because your story inspired me of why you even started your business, because you were using somebody else's product to fuel your passion, correct?
Absolutely. My husband and I are DIYers at heart. We bought our first home and we flipped it ourselves, and sold it. We bought our second one. I'm going to admit that one's not going as fast since we also bought a business. But no, it's always being creative. My first job was in merchandising for a furniture store. So, just being around art, being around design, my degree is in fashion merchandising. So I've always had that creative side of me. For 15 years, I was in marketing and advertising. So a part of my heart has always been in design, of some kind.
Mhm.
And so my husband and I was an avid Board and Brush attendee. So Board and Brush has actually been in Brenham for 6 years. My husband and I have, or 6 or 7 years. My husband and I have only owned it for 2. So I attended Board and Brush Brenham long before I owned it. And I was planning a date night for my husband and I, and got online and found out that they were closing in Brenham. And my heart just broke. Like, for those of you who aren't familiar with Brenham, we are a small, small town. And it just made me really sad to think that one more place where people could go to get out of the daily grind, one more place where they could have community, one more place where we could have kids' birthdays and girls' nights and team building was just going to disappear off the map for us. And I went to bed like with it super heavy on my heart. And the next morning I woke up and my husband had been on the phone like all night long. And I woke up the next morning and he's like, hey, what are you doing today? What is your mom doing today? Can she watch the boys? And I was like, sure, I think so. He's like, okay, well, we have a meeting with the owner of Board and Brush. That was January 8th. January 19th, we were on a plane to headquarters for Board and Brush. January 21st, we wrote a check and owned a business. So in like less than 2 weeks, we were business owners, all because we wanted to keep this place of creativity and community open for the people of Brenham.
Mhm. That story so inspired me, because a lot of times that's how like entrepreneurship starts. We just have a passion, and we just actually just follow that passion. And that's exactly what you did within 2 weeks. So there was not much thought. You were just like, I
It
need
was
this
not. We jumped in
place.
both feet.
Yeah, I need this place. This community needs this place. And so can you tell us a little bit about what Board and Brush actually is? What can you do there? Because the stuff you have going on in there, I had no idea until we spoke at that networking event.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So first and foremost, we call ourselves a DIY creative studio. So it is a do-it-yourself experience. Everything is instructor led. So whatever workshop we're doing, we go step by step through the whole process and teach you how to make something. We do everything from like wood signs. This is our bread and butter, is wood signs. Everything is stenciled. We have all of the tools for you to paint stuff. But we do a lot of other things. We decorate tote bags, we decorate pillowcases, we plant terrariums, we create wreaths for your front door, we create porch planters, we do sandboxes. I mean, there's a million, we do glass etching, we do tea towels. So there's so many things that we offer here in the studio outside of what just most people know, because we are Board and Brush, which don't get confused because a lot of people think we're dog groomers. And and we're not. Like, you don't know how many times I get phone calls like, hey, can I bring my dog in? No, no, wrong place. But so the majority of the things we do is painting on wood, hence the Board and Brush. But we do offer so many other workshops and other DIY experiences outside of just our bread and butter, as we call it.
There was one part of your what when you were going over your services that really seemed to hit the people in the room, and that was when you called date night and you called drop your kids off and I will feed them and watch them. I heard
Yes.
that whole room light up.
Yes. So during the summertime, because parents, they're having to find things to do with their kids. So we do summer camps for kids every June on Tuesday nights from 6 to 8 p.m. You can drop your kids off, and for $35, they do a project. We feed them dinner and we watch them for 2 hours so that mom and dad, like I say, you can go to the grocery store, you can go to dinner, you can go home and take a nap and do a little laundry, whatever you need to do. We can give your kids an experience outside of sitting in front of the TV. I mean, I know mine are addicted to YouTube more so than I'd want them to be. So yeah, it gives them experience, it gives them a creative outlet, it gives you a break. So we do all kinds of fun things like that. Like this month, we're doing a parent-child workshop for National Hot Chocolate Day. We're gonna have a hot chocolate bar out and let the kids come in and craft their own drinks. So we do all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah, and the other thing that you kind of talked about, and I saw that you lit up when you talked about this, is when you were talking about when you watching the kid
Mm.
create and how that just lit you up.
So it's so much fun because we do have an array of people who come through the studio of all walks of life, of all backgrounds. But there's something about watching kids create that is just so magical. They have no inhibitions, they have no anxiety, they have no, like, they're just going to do it. And some of the best projects that I've seen come out of the studio have been children. Because as adults, we're like, oh God, is this going to match? Oh, what color is this? Oh, is this going to look right? Are these going to go together? We're so bogged down with every decision, and the kids are like, whatever, let's do this. They pull 19 colors down and they just get into it. They start talking to their friends and then the glitter comes out. So it's just so much fun watching them craft.
Hmm. And then the other piece that you mentioned, and I'm a leadership team development coach, and this hit me, is you talked about doing yeah, that y'all have teams that actually come there and actually do team retreats there to do that creativity there as a team. Can you talk more about that?
Absolutely. So we do, like, December is our biggest month for team building because not only are they doing team building, but they're doing corporate Christmas parties or, small business Christmas parties. We've done it all. But it's a lot of fun because that's when I get to see a lot more men, um,
Hmm.
is when we start doing the team building. Cause I tell the guys all the time, I'm like, if y'all would come, all of our guy friends now have come to the studio multiple times because we own it. And my husband he's a social butterfly. He's got a large group of friends. And so we've pulled those people in. And once we get the guys in here, like they're like, this is fun. And I'm like, I know it is. So it's fun because that's when I really get to see the broadest background of people is during team buildings. And it's a lot of fun because not all, you don't necessarily pick who you work with, right? Like, so
Hmm.
there may be a lot of different personalities and a lot of different backgrounds, but everybody comes in here, they grab themselves a beer from the cooler, the ladies open a bottle of wine, and everybody just kind of lets go and starts to craft. They start helping each other. They start making decisions together. They start picking out paint together. It's just a lot of fun to watch.
So they come in basically, is what I'm understanding is they come in kind of reserved a little bit, but then by the end of it, they're just like starting just to chill and mesh and seeing that. And I've seen it in some of the exercises I've done. So I can imagine doing crafts and
Well, and
is
coming
a
out of corporate
magical thing.
America, I used to plan our annual conference, right? So team building was a huge part of, what I had to work in. And there's only so many times that you can, play match games or, do, whatever it is, running around the circle and playing guessing games and writing stuff down about you and passing it around the room. Like there's only so much, you can do there. When you actually get people in here working with their hands, like something different happens. And then they not only do they get to come in, but they get to take it with them as a reminder, of the
Hmm.
things that they had accomplished. And that's another thing that I love about this space is I don't know about all the listeners out there, but I'm a DIYer with ADD. So I have a
Guilty.
yeah, I have a lot of projects in life, in my office, in the studio, in my home, that are incomplete and unfinished. So that's what's so wonderful. I think that's why I was drawn to board and brush in the first place, is because I could come in, decorating my home brings me joy. And, so I could go to board and brush, I could pick out something out of thousands of designs that fit my home. I could come in 3 hours, I would leave with something that I absolutely loved and knew exactly where it was going in my home. You know, I
Hmm.
I could complete a project. I felt good about it. I loved it because I designed it. It was just all the way around. It was all good feelings.
Hmm. So one of the things that, that we see now in corporate America, just in society in general, is there's so much stress in the world right now. Do you see people when they come in where, because when people come in, I can imagine they're like, kind of apprehensive about even doing it. It's like, I can't do it right. I'm not going to be able to finish it, or, all the things that all the negative self-talk that people tell themselves. But when they actually walk out with a completed project, do you see that stress and or them just throw themselves in it, that that's all they're thinking about, just completely change their perspective and their
Oh,
mood?
it's complete joy when they leave usually. And I'm not going to lie to you. I work 8 to 5, right? Most of our stuff is, and there are days where I have to drag myself in here. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to do this tonight. I'm not going to lie. Like that's natural life. But as soon as I get in here, as soon as I start teaching, you know, I remember why I do this, because people just light up, they get excited, then I get excited, and everybody starts having a good time. The music is playing, and the drinks are out, and everybody's stress just kind of melts away, including mine. Like,
Hmm.
and it just turns into something so magical.
So have you seen, because in her studio, she has like these big long tables. And have you seen people that actually developed friendships just by sitting at that table together because they came in, they didn't know each other when they walked in the door?
Absolutely. That happened to me. My assistant, who works for me now, we met at a board and brush table before I
I
owned it.
love that.
And now she works for me full time. Granted, she knew my mother, when we sat down. I was like, hi, I'm Stephanie, what? And she's like, Stephanie, what's your last name? And oh, you're Terry's daughter. Yes, I am. I've known her. So I didn't, I knew her once removed, hence the way everything is in Brenham, everybody at least once removed. But we met at a board and brush table, and our love of DIY has carried us through. She ended up being my son's preschool teacher, small town. And then
Uh-huh.
now she works for me. So, yes, absolutely. Like even for myself, I meet people in here all the time that become friends who I've had a lot of people that I've met who work for me now because they've found passion in just doing this. So even if it's one shift a month, they come in just to like let go because the studio
Hmm.
is their happy place.
Yeah. Yeah. So, as we both know, because we are both small business owners, being a business owner, it's hard. And you wear a lot of different hats. What is one of the things that you have learned now that you wish you would have known when you first started?
Oh, like I can't control it all.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I have to delegate. And that's something that's super hard for me because I was always one of those like I can do it better, I can do it faster, you know, and putting the right people in the right places. And I wish I would have done that sooner. So I have to depend on other people, which is hard for me. I have to ask for help, which is hard for me. Um, and so I think that's what I wish I would have told myself sooner. Ask for help.
Hmm.
Let it
And
go and ask for help.
yeah. And I know that you shared stories, and we won't go into that, but where you did have to ask for help and
Mm,
you saw the community show you that support. And because you did ask for the help, then the community kind of stood behind you in your business.
absolutely.
And then we saw it again at that networking event, that when you were talking about what do I need? And then you had I can help you with that. And I mean, and that was such a powerful
Ask for help.
moment. Yeah. Ask, because you're like, I need help with this. It's
And
just how we ended up here.
I think I would tell my younger self that it's okay to fail
I love that.
because failure, like I just had a big birthday. But in the big scheme of things, I'm only 40. Like, it's okay to fail. Like,
Hmm.
failure is not the end. Like, it teaches me a lot. I have, I learn a lot every time I don't get something right. But you're not going to
Hmm.
get everything right. I have to switch my mindset. It's not all going to be perfect. It's not all going to be right the first time. So I think it would be ask for help and know that failure is okay. It's not the end. It's a pivot.
Yes, I love that. I'm actually reading a book by John Maxwell. It's called Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn. And that's what he talks about.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's just a pivot. But a lot of times in society, we're taught sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Right.
But with every loss, there's a lesson if you're looking for it. And I love that you just kind of that that's what I wish I would have learned or knew beforehand. And as a small business owner, we're testing stuff and we're like, let's see what sticks. I call it building the airplane 100,000 foot in the air, because that's what
Absolutely.
it is. That's what it
As long
is.
as long as we're not drowning, then we're okay. Like
Yeah. So was there a moment when you questioned, because you said you work a full-time job, you have two small kids, you have a husband, that you ask yourself, is this even worth it?
do you want the honest answer?
Yes, I do.
Every day.
Yeah, same here. Every single day.
Every single day. My babies came up here to say hi to me before they left. Mommy, why do you have to stay? Mommy, why do you have to stay? It's every day. But, I know that my little boy looks up at me and he's like, I want to do what you do for a living. I want to paint with people. So I know that there's good and bad to it. But I mean, every day, every night that I have to be here till 10 o'clock and they go to bed at 8:30 or 9 o'clock. No, I question myself every day. Did we do the right thing? But then people come in here and find joy and I help turn one person's day around. And then I'm like, this is why we're doing this.
Hmm.
So it's a daily struggle for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'm the kind of the same way, because I'm like, did I impact one person today? And if I did, then it was worth it. Because that's what it's about, is that impact and adding value to one person every single day. So when you look at number one, you talked about like the creativity like fuels your passion, which is way opposite that your day job. Because I mean, I've worked with insurance agents. I know what that world's like. So, and then
I
you
love
and then
I
you
love my insurance job. I do. I love it.
but it's very compliance, very,
It is.
very driven.
It is. It is very different. But
Yeah.
it's a nice outlet too.
So how is running a business change you as a person? Because you've been in this a couple years now.
A couple years. Yeah. Um, I think I'm more patient, or I would hope that I'm more patient. I worked for a privately owned restaurant group, and I was, you know, almost second in command to the owner. There was a lot of things that he didn't do unless he asked my opinion. And, but it was one of those things where I could go to him and say, I want this, 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 and this, and I would
Hmm.
receive it. I want, I need. As a business owner, I'm like, I don't know. That's not how it works. I mean, he was lucky enough that he could give me everything I wanted, but I have to learn patience. Like,
Yes.
because I am building something. Whereas he had been in business, for 15, 16, and more than that, because I worked there 15 years, 30 years, you know, I'm building something brick by brick. And so
Uh-huh.
where I think I should be and where I am, they're very far apart. They're
Hmm.
very far apart. So I have to learn that I can't put the cart before the horse.
Yep.
I have to be patient.
Hmm.
Rome wasn't built in a day. All these things, they're there for, they're sayings for a reason. So I have to learn that I can't have it all right now. And so even though I want to do A, B, C, D, and E, I may only be able to do A and C,
Hmm.
which is frustrating for me,
Yep.
but I have to learn to pull back, and I have to learn to be patient.
Yeah. I love that because patience, for most people is not our strongest virtue because
Absolutely
we
not.
want it all tomorrow, like, or yesterday, and we want
Yesterday.
everything done yesterday. So we find ourselves in these cycles of how do we balance between patience and just
What your
keep
business
like,
will allow.
yeah, I call
Like,
them micro actions. What micro actions are we taking each day? Because, and then when you look backwards, it's like, how did I get here? So if you look backwards, look how far we've come. Because I remember you talking about that in the early days, it was hard to get people in there because the business didn't have consistent workshops. And so therefore they didn't have a consistent clientele. So you had to basically build it from scratch.
still are
So
every day.
yes. So but it's about consistency, and it's about looking back of where you've came from to where you are now. And that's one of the teaching points that I teach a lot is like, let's look back where you were 2 years ago and look at the micro actions you've changed over time.
I'm just here
And a
shaking
lot
my
of
head. I'm like,
times,
yes, yes, yes.
so that's where, where but we forget to do that. We forget to look backwards. We are always
Reflection
looking
is
forward.
hard.
It is
Reflection is
hard.
hard, especially as a business owner, because you're just trying to do the next thing, to keep the next thing, to keep going. And taking a moment to reflect on all the positive things that you have done, it's hard because
It
you're
is hard.
constantly, like, I don't want to say you're constantly in the negative, but like you're constantly looking at what can I do better, I guess,
Hmm. Yep.
instead of what have I done right.
Yep.
And it's hard.
Hmm. I call it the hamster wheel. It's like we're staying on this, like we feel like we're the hamster running on the wheel a lot of times, but sometimes we have to jump off and say, okay, look what I've done. Look what I've built.
And see, and
Because
that's part of that, asking for help and putting people in the right places, because, I do have to work a full-time job to support the studio at this point. Truth bomb. It is what it
Mhm.
is. Um, but putting someone here at the studio that I can trust, that I can give directive to and not have to micromanage, is huge.
Mhm.
She comes to me and she's like, is this how you want this? And I say, I trust you. I've put you in this position because I agree with the decisions that you've made thus far. And if I've given you, I've learned very early that, you don't look, I'm just full of them today. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Like, if you're going to give me your time, your effort, and your creativity, and you're going to do the things that I don't have time to do, that I'm going to, again, this is something that I'm working on. I'm going to give you that leash to do
Mhm.
it your way, because
Yeah.
I need that support.
Hmm.
And I have to put the hands of the studio into someone else's hands, even if just for a little bit, so that I can make sure we're getting everything accomplished.
Hmm. And that's one of the things we coach on heavily is how to trust team to be able to fulfill your vision. And a lot of times it comes with clarity, like where are we going? And because that, as the business owner, that is our job. We're the ones that are supposed to steer the ship. So if we're not steering the ship and we're back here rowing the
Right.
boat is just going in circles. So, but then that's what you bring team on for, is to actually, because they have strengths of their own that we necessarily don't have, because we're doing about 50,000 other things and we
And
can't do it all.
it's taken me 2 years to cultivate a team, but I have 3 women behind me right now. And, I can walk out of the studio for the first time in my life, not in my life, in the last 2 years. I can not run a workshop. Every workshop almost for the last 2 years has been run by me. That is at least 3 workshops a week sometimes. That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday afternoons, Wednesday nights, Tuesday mornings, 2 on Friday during the holidays. Every single one of them run by me. And I've just in the last 2 months been able to delegate teaching to someone else, which is huge. I can, I
That is
can,
huge.
I can leave the studio and go home and have dinner with my kids and put them to bed on a Friday night and not worry about my clientele. I know that they're taken care of. I know that they're having a good time. I know they're laughing and enjoying themselves. Do I want to be here? My control freak self? Absolutely. Also, because I have FOMO real bad, I'm like, what are they doing at the studio that I'm not being a part of? So because this is our happy place for all of us who work here. I have girls on my staff that are like, hey, listen, I don't even want to get paid today. Can I just come in? Because they just want to be here. Like,
Hmm.
absolutely. Like, they're,
Yeah.
I just want to come in and paint. Can I just come in and paint something? Yes. Like, so, but it's nice having the right people in the right places and me being able to confidently step back.
Because one of the things I learned years ago is one of the things that I wish I would have known when I first started to over 10 years ago. I was having to think back.
I
But
know
one of the things,
time flies. Time
yeah,
flies when you're having fun. There you go.
yes.
There's another
But
one.
it was in a book, I think it was Profit First by Mike McAllowitz, where he talked about, as a small business owner, our job is to actually create jobs. But when we are actually trying to do all the things, then we are like, it's a disservice to the economy
Nobody
and
wins. Nobody wins.
nobody wins.
You don't win.
Nobody.
Your community doesn't win. Yeah. Your employees don't win. Absolutely.
Yeah. So because you're creating jobs for the community, you're creating space and growing people. Because I'm all about growing people from where they are to a better place. That's what growth is in teams. And a lot of times people don't look at it this way. They look at it, well, I can just do everything myself. And that's where you're creating a no-win situation. And I work with a lot of accountants who they struggle with this. They struggle with actually trying to build that team because they have that control problem. And that control is what holds so many people in one place for so long. And it just refreshes my heart to hear how that has worked for you.
Well, and letting go of control, do you know how much my staff has taught me? There'll be things around the studio and they're like, why are you doing this way? It would be so much. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God, because I can't get out of my own way for the weight that's on my back, for the long list of things that are in front of me. And so I just do it, right? I don't have that outside perspective. I'm just in the grind. And so my team members will look at me and be like, Stephanie, ma'am, why are we doing this way? And they'll show me something that I would have never have thought of myself. And we create a whole new procedure for the studio.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So tell us I'm going to get all your information from you so we can send your website, all of this stuff on this Facebook Live. So I tell us more of how we can support you. I know we're in a small town outside of Houston, so the people that are in North Houston, it's probably about what 30 minutes from like the Cypress area to get to your place.
Mhm.
And then Austin, it's like an hour, a little about an hour and a half or so to get to your place. But so how can people connect with you? Well, we're going to drop all that in the comments, but what is your business? You have a business Facebook and you have a website, and we're going to drop all that down. But if they have specific questions for you, where can people find you?
Well, so I mean, of course, website, Facebook, Instagram, all the places. But my email, is monitored 24 hours a day. So Brenham at boardandbrush.com is the fastest way to connect with me. I check it. I'm constantly checking it 24 hours a day. So that's the fastest way.
No,
I can't do
back-to-back
it without
control.
looking at it. I know I can't. But I mean, I don't want to miss the opportunity to have someone in the studio, So I maybe I could let that go just a little bit. But uh,
Hmm.
no, so my email and Facebook are the two most watched locations.
Hmm. And I don't know if you want to share this here, and if you don't, just tell me. But you also talked about a new program that you have that you're working on. Would you like to share the details on that?
Sure.
Because I was super excited.